Hello, everyone. Welcome to the season premiere of A Good Sports Show. I am your host, Randy Goodman. You can follow me on social media at rangood03, and you can follow the show at A Good Sports Show. And once again, it's at A Good Sports Show, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can also send your questions and comments and your hot sports opinions to a good sports show at gmail.com, and we'll answer your questions and also give you a shout out on upcoming shows. So let's go ahead and dive into this episode of the show, and we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys first. And they had their first game this past Sunday against the New York Giants. And it was a highly entertaining game. We had the Zeke holdout ended. Zeke got his contract, which I think we all pretty much knew he was going to get anyway. We just didn't know the specifics on the contract. The Cowboys, they came out and hit the Giants right in the mouth to start out the game. Just run down some of the stats. Dak Prescott, he threw for 405 yards and 4 touchdowns in the game. He had an amazing 158.3 passing rating and was 25 of 32 on pass attempts. He just came out and he hit all of his receivers, and the Cowboys had 2 receivers over 100 yards receiving. Gallup had 158 yards. Cooper had 106 yards and 1 touchdown. Cobb had 69 yards and a touchdown. Jarwin 39 yards and a touchdown. And Jason Witten, old man Witten, came back, had 15 yards and a touchdown, and the fans absolutely went crazy when he caught his touchdown pass. And then, of course, Elliott contributed too. He had 53 yards and 1 touchdown in the game against the Giants. All in all, the Cowboys' offense with their new play caller, Kellen Moore, I feel like this offense was just like opened up more, and the passing game just felt like it was just flowing along. I feel like with Gallup, and Gallup's going to improve this year. Having Cooper, he was worth that first-round draft pick when the Cowboys traded for him last year. And then you add in Cobb too, the new guy. I think, that those 3 guys there, the weapons for Prescott, that's going to be huge this year. And then, of course, too, Jarwin, him coming on too, and, in the tight end position, because Witten's, he's only going to play so many snaps, so Jarwin's is going to have to come up and step up in the Cowboys games ahead. And then take a look at the Cowboys defense. They gave up 494 yards. That was the total yards that they gave up. My question is, are the Cowboys this good after just 1 week? Or was it that the Giants defense was that bad? That's what I just kind of want to see. Was this just a sample size? Because we know the Giants, their defense, they don't have the playmakers in the secondary, and they're just not as talented and deep as they have in years past. So we'll kind of see as these next couple weeks go along a little bit more sample size of how good this Cowboy team can be, and some of the play calling from Kellen Moore, and then also too the defense. They've got to step it up too, and they just can't allow almost 500 yards of total offense from NFL teams each week, because you have some teams that are really talented, and they're just going to be in high scoring contests. And the Cowboys, that was impressive, putting up 35 points. So we'll kind of see how it all plays out in the next couple weeks. And of course, the Cowboys play the Redskins next week. So we'll see. And the Redskins, they have Case Keenum as their quarterback now, and so we'll kind of see. He's kind of a gunslinger, and that game's at Washington, so The Cowboys are really going to have to step it up on the defensive side. Offensive side, I'm not too worried anymore. Defensive side, I'm a little worried. I just think with a little bit more pass rush in there and a little bit more forcing 3 and outs and stuff, I think they'll be fine on defense. It's just, it's the first game and stuff. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. So go Cowboys. All right, so now we're going to move on a little bit more NFL talk here. The Dolphins, they are in tank mode, no pun intended. The Dolphin tank. They lost 59-10 to Baltimore on Sunday. The Fins defense, they gave up 643 total yards. That's just, it's awful. That is just embarrassing. And the Ravens averaged 8.8 yards per play on Sunday. I mean, Lamar Jackson was pretty much in video game mode. Anywhere he wanted to throw the ball, he was throwing it. Hollywood Brown, he made his debut on Sunday, and he was lights out. It was just, the Ravens put on a clinic. And the Dolphins, there was rumors out there that the Dolphins, some of their players after the game were already contacting their agents to try to get out of Miami and get traded to somewhere else. But we'll just kind of see how that plays out. I don't know. I don't. And the coach, Brian Flores, he said he said on Monday that he didn't hear any truth to that rumor, whatever. The players have been asking to leave town and stuff. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. And of course they play the Patriots this week. So, and the Patriots are probably hitting 50 on them. So if you have any Patriots players on your fantasy team, this would be the week to go ahead and plug them in. Because I think the Dolphins, I'd have to look at their schedule, but they may win maybe 1 game, 2 games, and then the Dolphins, they need a quarterback, they need a running back, they need some. They just need they need skilled players at pretty much almost each position, but we'll kind of see how it goes. And then we have Kyler Murray's debut that was on Sunday. The Cardinals were down. They came back, scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. Murray, of course, a lot of the critics and stuff were saying he had a lot of balls batted down. And because of his size, tongue-in-cheek, and, I don't know. I think that's just going to happen, as the season goes on and stuff. But, that game ended in a tie. Like I said, the Cardinals scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. Murray was 29 of 54 for 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception in the tie. I think just as each week goes on, he's going to get a little bit more comfortable. And Kingsbury, as he gets going along as NFL head coach and stuff, I think the Cardinals, they'll win a handful. They're not going to win 7, 8, 9 games or whatever. They may win 4 or 5 games this year. Or they may tie a couple more games. Who knows? But, Murray's the exciting player. And I think he'll do good with the Cardinals. I think, like I said, it's just going to take time for him in that offense. And he's got Fitzgerald out there he can throw to, and he's got David Johnson to hand the ball off to. So I think they'll be okay. It's just, he's going to have some growing pains, this year and probably next year too. And now we're going to move on to AP Top 25 talk. So the new AP poll came out on Monday, and we've got some teams that have moved up, and we've got some teams that have moved down, and some teams that made their debut on the top 25. Really quick, I'm going to go through from bottom to the top. Number 25, Virginia. They weren't ranked last week. They're 2-0. USC, they're 24. They weren't ranked last week. Probably the biggest fall was Washington. They were 14 and now they're 23. Boise State's number 22. They're 2-0. Maryland jumps in. They're a high-scoring team. Maryland jumps in at 21. They're 2-0. They weren't ranked last week. Washington State 2-0. They're number 20. Iowa is number 19. Michigan State's number 18, 2-0. UCF is 2-0, at number 17. A&M dropped from 12 to 16 after the loss at Clemson. They did cover the spread, though. Anyway, Oregon's number 15, 1-1. Wisconsin's number 14 at 2-0. Penn State's number 13 at 2-0. Texas was number 9. They dropped to number 12 at 1-1. Utah moved up 2 spots to number 11 at 2-0. And the rest of these teams I'm going to mention are all undefeated. Michigan, they dropped 3 spots from 7 to 10. They're 2-0. Florida moved up 2 spots to number 9. They're 2-0. Auburn is number 8. They were number 10. Notre Dame's sitting there. They were number 8. Now they're number 7. I still think they're one of the most overrated teams in the country, but I'll get to that on another show. Number 6 is Ohio State. They were number 5. Now they're number 6. Oklahoma drops to number 5. They were number 4. LSU jumps 2 spots to number 4. They were number 6. LSU beat Texas 45-38. And I'll talk about that game in a few moments. Georgia's number 3. The top 3 didn't move. Georgia's number 3. Alabama's number 2. And Clemson, of course, is number 1. So the biggest kind of little shake-up in maybe the top 6 would be LSU jumping to number 4 after their impressive performance in Austin on Saturday night. Like I said, they won 45-38 over then number 9 Texas. And a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Texas is back. Texas is back." Well, I don't know. I don't want to say they're necessarily back. They're a good team, and they're gonna fight. They're gonna fight in every game they're in this season. I just don't think. I mean, the defense, they've got some talented players on both sides of the ball. I just don't want to say like, "Oh, Texas is back. Yeah, they're the powerhouse in the Big 12." No, let's tap the brakes on that. Just kind of looking at their schedule, they play Rice next week. That'll be a win. They play Oklahoma State at home. That's going to be a really good game. And then West Virginia, I mean, that's going to be a good game. And then, of course, the Red River Shootout or Showdown, whatever they call it now. That's on October 12th. That's going to be a really good game between these two teams and Jalen Hurts. And I ain't even talked about OU yet. I'll talk about them in the next episode of the show. And then, of course, you got them playing Kansas and Les Miles coming back to Kansas. TCU the next week. The next week. And they have an off week. Then they play Kansas State. And then they play at Iowa State and then Baylor. And then to close out the year, the Texas Tech comes to Austin. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to necessarily say that like Texas is back and they're just gonna dominate this year and stuff. So we'll just kind of see. I do love Ellinger though. That dude is tough as a $2 steak. He was 31 of 47 for 401 yards and 4 touchdowns in the loss against LSU. And him and Burrow were just going back and forth. I love quarterback battles like that. And Burrow, I mean, he was just taking his team down the field as well. That was just a great game and great atmosphere on Saturday night down in Austin. And so, and to get back to the LSU, they're gonna be all right too. They're gonna have some tough games in the SEC, of course. But what I've been saying about LSU for for years is they're a good team. They have great skill players on both sides of the ball. But one thing LSU's been missing is a quarterback. And I've been talking since I'm blue in the face about LSU has to have a quarterback. And they've had some guys come in there the past couple of years, yes, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But Burrow, I mean, this guy, like I said, he is tough as a $2 steak. He's competitive. He's got that fire in him. And I know that fan base down there is fired up. So we'll just kind of see how the season goes on with the AP polls and stuff. And then also, too, I'll mention just briefly about this, and I'll talk about this in another episode. But my personal feelings are we shouldn't have these AP polls, these top 25 polls come out until after a full month of the college football season. I just feel like there's too much knee-jerk reaction from the media, and the first couple of games of the schedule for most teams are just cupcakes, and there's teams that are just coming to get checks, $500,000 checks or up to $1 million checks, and you're just kind of seeing some of these teams just not on full gas and playing their full potential and stuff. So I don't know. I just feel like once you really get into the meat of the schedule after your fourth game of the season, I think that's when we really start seeing who's the pretenders and who's the contenders and who's going to be in the college football playoff at the end of the season. Because right now I could tell you that I couldn't even tell you. Well, honestly, I couldn't even tell you who's in my top four. I mean, if I just had to pick top four teams right now, I would say LSU's in there. I'd say Oklahoma's in there. I guess you would have to put Clemson and Alabama. I mean, where's Georgia fit in this? It's just, I don't know. But then Georgia and Notre Dame are going to be playing each other in a couple of weeks. And probably one of those teams is going to eliminate each other. And then what about Michigan? You're like, oh, well, Michigan's 2-0. They're ranked 10th in the country. Well, they had a lackluster performance against Army on Saturday. From what I saw there, their offense was supposed to be a powerhouse and rebuilt and everything, and the defense had to save them on Saturday. So we'll just kind of see. I don't know. Michigan may end up tripping and losing at least maybe 2 or 3 games this season. So anyway, I get my blood pressure starts going up when I start seeing these AP polls for at least the first month of September and stuff. So anyway, but I'll talk more in depth of that in another episode of the show. So I want to go ahead and I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of A Good Sports Show, the season premiere. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. You can follow the show on you can follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also subscribe to the show on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. I believe it's youtube.com/C/A Good Sports Show. And also the show is on iTunes, or Apple Podcast. So I will be back next week with another episode of A Good Sports Show. Take care and God bless.